it's been a while since I've done any videos about twin flames whatsoever, or soul connections for that matter, because I've been going through quite a state of confusion with it for the past few months. So I've just been going through my own changes. One of those changes is what I wanted to talk about today. Apologies if I'm squinting, it's so bright. What I wanted to talk about was something that happened to me 2 nights ago. What was it I was doing? I can't remember now. It's weird because that whole night itself just feels like the memory of a dream. It fades really fast and there's no perception of linear time, so it's really hard to try and recount back. What I do remember is it started off, right? What I do remember is that it started off with a very painful blockage in my solar plexus. And blockages for me, when I feel them like they're physical, it's when they've risen to the surface, and it just they feel like a small hard lump of various size, but they're extremely sharp, like they're razors. And I was feeling this in my solar plexus, and I was doing all that I could to expel it, so it would move around my system where it disappears. So I had that while I was waiting to sleep. Then I went on to have a dream. I can't remember the exact dream as it was, though at the end I was slightly lucid and I was in this full awareness that something wasn't right. In this space I was in, I couldn't see, all I could do was sense around me, and it was just me. And I knew on such a deep level that that wasn't right, that it shouldn't just be me, that there was something wrong. And I was trying to understand, what else should there be? How do I bring this about? And I had 2 ideas. One was that I was supposed to create him within me and then separate him from me, so there would be 2 of us. Then that would be the balance, and that's how it was. I knew it was supposed to be. The other idea, I don't actually remember what it was. That's the strange thing for me there, is I don't actually remember what the other idea was. So I brought about trying to manifest how it should be. After I'd woke up from that, I was laying there in what I can only call a state of crisis. It felt like fear, panic, anxiety, dread, and a deep sense of, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. And it was all coming out of my solar plexus. It wasn't towards anything in particular, though I just laid there and I let myself feel it. And when I thought back to the dream, where I was in this state of knowing it was just me and there should be this other, how do I bring this other about? When I thought back to that, it intensified, so I knew that it was something is wrong. As I felt it, it did start to dwindle away, which was good. And the next day, the rest of me felt fine, but my solar plexus felt extremely bruised. And occasionally I was having like a metallic taste on my solar plexus, and it just felt like it had been ripped apart and torn. And I was having pain there, but it wasn't pain in a physical sense. It was like when we say you have heartache and your heart is in pain, but it's nothing physical, it's heartache. It's like that, but it was in the solar plexus. So it's almost like a third person experience of self pain. And the way it came across to me after working through this was that somehow I had separated myself, which just seems completely out there, because all my life I have known that this was about union, two becoming one, coming together, reuniting. Yet here I was actually separating myself into the two, which at first I thought, no, that can't be right, you know, it's nothing about anything to do with that, it's just about merging and coming together. And then I remembered that a few days ago I heard in my mind something say, you're going to be asked to do something which is the complete opposite to what everyone else is doing, and what you believe is what you're supposed to be doing. And I realised this was it. And it threw me off, because I had to literally rip. I'm pretty sure that's why my solar plexus felt like it had been torn, because I had to literally separate myself again, somehow, as a part of this process. And as it's a part of the process, I trusted it. So I spent a lot of time that day on healing my solar plexus, because the feeling of being ripped and that self-pain, it's like I could feel and witness my solar plexus that had been ripped and was in pain. It was so strange that I was feeling myself in pain. Something like that. Though that to me confirmed that I had indeed separated myself to create this other, and as such I had created balance, because there was two, which is what they were supposed to be. Now, the feeling I was having that night, I've suffered from generalised anxiety and phobia, so I know what fear and panic and anxiety feels like, and what I felt that night was like, it was similar, but it most definitely was not them. So the only word I could put it through was to an existential crisis, because I wasn't how I was supposed to be. Now, as I figured it, that either means I was supposed to be a dual aspect, but I was only one, and that is what was wrong. Or, before I had dreamt, I was one aspect, and then I had separated myself and ripped myself in two, and I was now two, and that's why it was so different. I'm not sure which one it was. I think in a way it's both, because I've tried to get information about it, and it's never just one way or the other. And that's went against the opposite flow of everything that I'd come to believe about what this was about, rather than about two becoming one and merging. I had literally done the exact opposite, and it just felt so wrong. And I was determined to find a way to understand it that I could integrate and would fit with everything. So in the end, I realised that one of the frequent information that I was getting was in tarot. It's the 9 of coins, which is the independence, the individual card. And I realised that me that had split itself was the energy. It was the energy, the persona, the ID, the energy form, the energy being and self, which up to now had been independent as part of this independent form. And it was that was then realising that something, that wasn't right. It's not like I consciously thought, oh, I want to be a twin, I'll split my... It was nothing like that. This was something on a deeper level, which the me here, if I had given that choice, I'd be going, no, I'm not doing that. I would never have done that. So I can only think that it was a part of the process, even though it seems so contrary to the general twin flame idea. So this now is, this is the day after that actually. So it was 2 nights ago. This was the day after that. And I'm feeling fine now. I'm going to be doing some more solar plexus healing anyway, though I know that something really significant has changed, and that should be that should now change what we are now going on to do. Though I have to admit, I'm still some part of it that still doesn't sit right with me. The fact that I had to split myself, because I've known about this him that I was going to meet since I was about 13, and my actual twin flame process didn't start until I was 30, so I've known about it for a long time. And back then I had all of my understanding given to me about it all, and it was like I've been thinking there was me and this twin and we were going to reunite in this life, to then find out, well no, there's only ever been one of me, and it's in this life that I have split to become two, rather than splitting before coming here. And I'm having trouble getting my mind around that, because that's certainly on some level what seems to have happened. Now that's good, because that means that here on the mental and emotional etheric level it's getting closer, and it's almost like as this is coming down from the top, it's been splitting as we go in a strange way. Which is completely contradictory to everything that I've come across with this, and I have always believed. But it seems like my memories of being twins were actually future memories, because we haven't actually split yet. It's like, oh. So that's really been what I'm trying to get over, the idea and the feeling of actually splitting myself in two, when as far as I was aware, that splitting in two had already happened before being here. So that I'm still carrying a little bit of that, because I've always known that there was something that I didn't want to have to go through again, and I think that was it. So that's good, because that shows that whatever layer or level that was on, that I thought I was just one, it's still in the back of my mind that what if I've just created it and I've somehow damaged myself on those levels. So when I was trying to manifest what was supposed to be, I wasn't holding any particular way in mind, so I'm going to trust that this is part of the process. And over the next few days I'm going to try and find out and observe any changes that's happened. Yes, I think that's going to be the best way to go about things. I do want to try and do more videos, and though there's no point me doing videos when I'm still in the point of confusion and not really sure what the hell it is that's just happened. Though I want to do this video because that separating really shook me up, and the pain that it caused was a kind of pain I've never felt before on another level. And the idea that there was only one and we had to separate, it's like we didn't come here as two fully. It's strange, I can't get my head around it. I haven't heard it or read about it anywhere else, so I'm guessing it's just a quirk of my path. So we'll see. In a strange way, this whole needing to split kind of makes sense, because all the way through this, with all the connections that I've had that have helped me through this twin flame process, I find it easy to think of it as a process rather than another, because the twin flame is us inside, so no matter who you work through it with, it's always being worked on the twin within you. So I learned it's best not to get hung up on who you're connecting to, because before I go into that, I was going to say something else first. To me, I've always had this feeling that this was a fake connection, which in a way it kind of makes sense, because you can't have a connection when there's only one. If it's only a big was, pardon my French. Okay, that's me moving. You can't have a connection when there's only one. So it doesn't matter who you have a connection with, as long as you're working on you, your process, you'll always be working on the twin that is within. I think it's gone. So explains why it used to feel really fake, if that separation still needed to happen, so that makes sense. And why I had so many previous connections, that kind of makes sense as well, because there wasn't two of us to have that with. I know it sounds strange, but it's like we were only twins on the higher level, in a weird way.